is he can push the Congress to pass legislature to create real tax incentives, meaningful tax incentives for small businessmen, so that business people can create the jobs that are needed to stimulate the economy. Because if people are not working, the economy cannot recover. The recovery is driven only by dollars in circulation, and that comes from people spending. People don't spend when they don't have jobs.
The interesting thing about the economy is that the president doesn't really surround himself with economists, because if that were the case, he would have more people from the private sector instead of the public sector, Milo.
I totally agree, and the people that he would have from the public sector are the ones who have, hands-on experience creating jobs. You don't go to an academic and ask an academic how to create jobs. You go to somebody who started a business and employs people.
I tell you what, I mean, the president has such an opportunity to do such good. There was such promise. There was such promise for the president, and yet he just, I mean, how could he blow it so? How could he?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a function of having been intoxicated with the power of the position, or being so isolated from the experience of the average American that he doesn't understand what's really going on. I don't see sufficient evidence demonstrated from him, other than the frequent soundbite, that he has a real understanding of what's going on. It's interesting. He and Romney have more in common with one another than differences.
You really believe that Romney and President Obama have far more in common? Explain that.
Well, neither one of them is in touch with the experience of the average American. Neither one of them is speaking or addressing specific issues that will directly facilitate a recovery, and neither one of them strikes me as the right choice. But that's a personal opinion.
So is it based on Romney Care and Obamacare? Is that what you're basing this on?
I think there's noted similarities in those two vehicles. In fact, I would almost say that Obama plagiarized Romney Care.
Oh, you think his incentive for Obamacare came from Romney Care?
The similarities would not suggest, they would clearly evidence that he read it from start to finish.
Wow, now that's a strong. But you know what? I think most people agree with that. That the impetus for Obamacare came from Romney Care. What are some of the other similarities, do you think?
There's a glibness that is common between the two of them, and that's more personality than anything. But from a policy perspective, clearly they come from a different policy perspective. But I think that when it comes to the issues that are affecting America today, there's only one issue that is truly critical to America, and that's jobs, because that one issue fixes every other issue.
Jobs and the economy.
Yeah, and what was the saying? It's the economy, stupid. That's what it is. It's the economy. Stop talking about anything else. You know something? We're in Afghanistan. We need to be out of Afghanistan. We're getting out of Iraq. We don't need to, and one of the interesting things about Obama and Romney, Obama feels we need to complete the task in Afghanistan, which I totally disagree with, but that's another discussion. And Romney wants to go into Iran. We don't need any more wars. What we need to do is bring American working fighting men and women home, provide them, and make sure they have jobs when they get here, and bolster the United States back to the greatness that it once enjoyed. Because right now we are a fractionalized people who are greatly distracted from our primary objectives. And
what do you assume that primary objective is?
It's stated in the Constitution: the equal opportunity and pursuit of happiness for ourselves and our loved ones. I have one primary interest as an American. I want to create a stable environment and safe environment for my family. I want to pursue education and advancement of my country, and I want to spread the values and philosophies of democracy to those that wish to embrace it. I don't want to force it down anybody's throat, but I want to share it with anybody who's willing to hear it.
Well, I tell you, these are desperate times. Do you think that Romney or Gingrich can do any better than what we have now?
That's kind of a leading question, Armstrong. I think Mr. Magoo could do better than what we're doing right now. So, yes, Romney and or Gingrich could do better than what we're doing right now, but that's a hard measure.
How are you defining doing better?
Well, I think when it comes to international policy that Gingrich clearly has a better grasp on what's needed to restore America to global greatness than Obama does. Obama doesn't seem to understand that he's the president of the United States. Romney clearly has a solid grasp on how you generate revenue and produce jobs. And while he is frequently criticized for being a company buster, when one takes the time to look at the facts, the history evidence is just the opposite. He has done more to expand the businesses that he has bought through his investment banking activities than to arbitrage and break companies up. So that's an undeserved rep.
Oh, wow. I just hope that the president, I just hope he does well for the sake of the country. There's so much that's riding on it. It's pretty frightening to think what his circumterm will be like. He's moving towards more of a centrist position. That's not really who he is. And I just got to tell you, the country is at a very critical stage right now, and we desperately need the right kind of leadership because this socialism is not working. It's just not working, no. Milo.
It's not. I mean, I read the other day where our welfare program is now providing free cell phones to recipients of public assistance.
What?
You heard me. Our system is now providing free cell phones to people on public assistance.
Oh my goodness, that's the last thing. That's the last thing. Look, Milo, thank you for joining us on such short notice. When we come up next, Jerry Anderson will be joining us. I'm Armstrong Williams. Milo, we look forward to talking to you more.
Take care, Armstrong.
Yes. Oh, yeah. This is the Armstrong Williams Show. We're live in WTNT, 7:30 a.m. We're going to come back with much more. Don't go away. Armstrong.
Sorry about this.
Jerry Anderson.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com.
Hello?
There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Hello, my name is Ron Moulton. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council in the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoulton.com.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listeing to Armstrong Williams.
Welcome back to the broadcast. This is Armstrong Williams on WTNT AM 730, Washington, D.C. and around the country. Thank you guys for joining us. We're live. And Jerry Anderson, who is one of the top CEOs in this country, who hails from Ohio. She and her husband, Jerry Anderson, both same namesake, have built an incredible business around the country. And what we're doing throughout the State of the Union broadcast, and this is our State of the Union broadcast, we're asking people, how are their State of the Union? And so we're asking just people, everyday people, and CEOs. Jerry, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Armstrong.
You're doing great? Well,
I'm doing great.
Is that because of the leadership of our President Obama that you're doing great?
No, it's under my own work power that I'm doing great. No, I'm not giving him the credit for that.
Oh, well, listen, why do you think you continue to do well, and what kind of impact would you say the Obama policies have had on your businesses, the good, the bad, the ugly, and do you really believe that he can say anything to change your mind? I'm not assuming whether you voted for him or not, but do we need a change in leadership? Are there some things that the president needs to tweak? What can the president say tonight that can make you think twice, maybe three times, and consider voting for him?
You know, there's nothing that can be said to make me change my mind about wanting a new person in office for the next 4 years. I want my country to grow, and I want everybody to get along and love each other. Right now, I feel like we've got class warfare going on. You know, it's almost like the people who work hard and create jobs are the bad guys. And I just, that's just not true. And so to try to build that kind of wall between people, I think is wrong. And, I've worked since I was a teenager, and I never got a job from a poor man. Everybody I ever worked for was someone who worked their way up and needed someone to help them work in their business. And I think that what's going on is really sad, that because our economy is in such sad shape that we have to try to use class warfare to try to make those feel better about themselves that aren't doing well. And it's under his leadership that they're not doing well. I think it's just taken the attention off of what a bad job he's done.
Well, listen, is it any different than when Bush was in the White House?
Is it any different? Yeah, I think it is.
In what way?
Well, we didn't have the unemployment that we have now. And I really expected when Obama came into office that he would try to pull the people together, and I just feel like they've been pulled more apart.
In what way do you think are you talking about the class warfare?
Yes. Yes. We've always had people that have done better than others in this country. It's a known fact. I mean, this is the land of opportunity. Those who luck out, work hard, happen to get into the right business and work hard do well. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing evil about that. And those that do well are the ones that create the jobs for others. And I just think it's wrong to try to turn people against each other.
You know, you're being an entrepreneur. Explain to our audience how jobs are created.
Well, what happens is you have two people like my husband and myself who have a dream of having their own business. And they go into business and they work 16 hours a day and they do whatever it takes to keep that business going. And that means watching your money, making sure that you're making a profit. Profit's not bad. That's why people work, so they have money to pay their bills. And so, you know, you work hard so that you make a profit, and then you try to build that business up by giving good customer service, caring about the people that work around you, training your people so that they do a good job. And you put a lot into building a company. There's a lot. You put a lot of time, money, effort into training your people and what you need from them. That's not evil. That's how you build a business.
And I guess what you're also implying to us, Jerry, is that in building a business, you must constantly reinvent yourself.
Exactly. When you come across problems, you have to fix them. You can't let them go. There's nobody's going to bail you out. If it failed because you didn't make it work. So it's up to you.
What were your thoughts on the bailouts of the auto industry and Wall Street early on in the Obama administration? Was it necessary? Can you see the fact that he saved the car industry? General Motors is thriving now and is returned to to a place that they have not seen in a long time. They're really thriving.
I think that still remains to be seen.
So you think this could be short-lived?
The reason that they were failing is because they had more expenses than they had profit. And, you know, when I have more expenses than I have profit, I have to cut back. You know, I have to do more of the work myself. I have to cut back on my labor, and I got to make sure that I get my materials from someone that, you know, I can sell that stuff and make a profit on. So, you know, I think it's really kind of unfair that they got bailed out and they weren't allowed to fail. Seriously. I mean, I know we need that industry, but I think it's a shame because nobody's learned anything here, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get right back into that same situation.
Do you have any hope that Obama can become the president that so many people hope that he would become? Do you actually think that's possible?
No, not with his kind of thinking.
So you think it's more of an ideology, not necessarily the policies that drives him?
Exactly. I think the ideology is ruining him. You know, it doesn't make sense what goes on.
Do you think
For instance,
do you think
why didn't we get that pipeline that would have created so many jobs? Really? Does he really want to create jobs, or did somebody say, "Hey, if that pipeline goes through, we can't move oil on my train"? Is that what that was about? Is it about some billionaire that contributes to his campaign? And, you know, what really is that about? Why didn't we get that pipeline? So many people wanted it, the Democratic Party including.
You know, I do think there's a tragedy in this economy that the president would just be so petty and play politics with the pipeline, knowing how desperately our economy is suffering. There was so much hope there, and it was a good way to create jobs. Now, that's job creation. That's real job creation. It has nothing to do with him. It would be done by the private sector. But, you know, when you have the power to say, yes, that can happen, or no, that can't happen, well, then that'll stop or start whatever will be. You know, actually, in more ways than you can imagine, it was shocking that they could be so petty and play with the livelihood of the American people.
See, that's what I think, too. I mean, Tell me why it didn't go through, and give me a good reason.
You know what? There is no reason why it did not go through. Do you see this economy turning around anytime soon? I know you talk about how your businesses continue to do well, but what about the people around you? Do you find that their lives and their businesses have been diminished?
My business is a little different. My business is television. And when the economy is not doing well, people watch more television because they don't go out as much. So in that respect, I'm a lucky person because my business still thrives during bad times. Everybody's business doesn't still thrive during bad times. I know if you talk to a real estate agent, he's not going to tell you what I just told you, that my business is doing fine. You know, there may be some real estate agents that are doing okay. I don't know that, but I don't think there are. But you know, I just happen to be in one of those industries that is still working.
How much does it really depend on the individual to turn their circumstances around, whether it's personal or business, instead of relying on the nanny government?
Well, it's huge for a person to be responsible for their business. I mean, that's how we've built this whole country, is people being responsible for what they do. You can't say, oh, I'm going to fail, so it's going to be your responsibility to pay for this and bail me out. No, if you're going to fail and you have to get a loan, you got to go and you got to put your name on the line, put up all the stuff that you own to say, hey, I am going to make this work. You don't just go get a handout. That's not what made this country great.
But it seems as though more and more Americans are looking for a handout instead of working hard.
Well, that's sad because that's not how you build a nation. People aren't proud of themselves when they have to do stuff like that. You know, when somebody works hard and deserves something great, and you know, then they're proud of themselves when they create something wonderful. They've got people that they can supply jobs to and families that they're feeding. I mean, that's a great feeling. That's a great feeling. But to fail and to, you know, say, you know, you guys need to bail me out because you need my industry, yeah, that's not right.
Well, Jerry, we're really ecstatic that we were able to get your perspective. We appreciate your taking time out from your busy schedule to talk to us about the state of your union, the state of the nation's union, and join us. And thank you again, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future.
All right. Thanks, Armstrong.
Thank you. When we return, Tom Schatz, president and founder of Citizens Against Government Waste, will be joining us. I'm Armstrong Williams. We're live on WTNT AM 730 in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. We're going to talk about government waste when we return on Armstrong Williams Show. Armstrong. Armstrong.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sports shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit NRA.org.
Hello, my name is Ron Moulton. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council in the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoulton.com.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Citizens Against Government Waste is a private, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization representing more than 1 million members and supporters to eliminate waste and mismanagement in our government. Its founder and chairman is joining us live in our Right Side Wire DC studios. Tom Schatz, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Armstrong. You know, you always give me a little too much credit for CAGW. The founder and co-chairman were Jack Anderson and Peter Grace. I've been the president for a long time, so it may seem like I've always been there, but you're right about the organization's purpose. We're not out of business yet. There still is government waste, and certainly we'll hear tonight what the president is planning to do, which will probably create more government waste after his State of the Union.
Why do you think his State of the Union would create more government waste, Tom?
He hasn't done anything to stop it since he's been president.
That's not according to his rhetoric.
The rhetoric may be one thing, the record is another. $4.6 trillion in additional debt since he took office almost exactly 3 years ago. Today marks the 1,000th day that the Senate Budget Committee has not produced a budget document. They've had other votes to reject a Republican budget, and they even rejected President Obama's last budget by a vote of 97-0, but they produced nothing of their own. We, by the way, today made Budget Committee Chairman Kent Conrad, the senator from North Dakota, our January Porker of the Month, because he simply hasn't done his job to produce a budget. In fact, a member from New York, Anne Marie Burkle, had a bill last year called the Just Do Your Job Act, which would have cut off funding for the budget committees in the House and Senate if they didn't produce a budget. Why are we paying these people to do nothing?
So explain to us the president's budget, which he has not submitted yet, which he violates the rules of the game. And he indicated to his party a few weeks ago they would not be pleased with his budget because he had to make compromises with the GOP, which was another red flag. So tell the people exactly what is in the budget, where is the waste, and why do you think it's going to become even more bloated after his speech tonight?
Well, again, the president has increased the national debt by his policies from about $11.1 trillion to more than $15 trillion. By the time 10 years would have passed since he first took office, it would have doubled to more than $22 trillion. We already have a national debt that is larger than our economy. In other words, the debt that is owed and that the government now has to pay off at some point is larger than the annual output of the entire economy. Countries like Greece and Italy have gone in that direction, and while the United States, fortunately, maybe, is able to withstand it, we haven't been in this situation since World War II, and we're not in a war like that anymore.
What do you mean able to sort of avoid it? We're the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Well, that's right. If we go down, everything goes down. Everybody talks about Europe and what's the impact of Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, whatever it might be. But if we have the most predictable solution to a crisis in our history. We know that we have this debt. This is not something that's out there. Oh, maybe Iran will have a nuclear bomb. Maybe they'll attack somewhere. Maybe there'll be another, unfortunate, let's hope not, a terrorist attack. I mean, those are unpredictable. But predictable is we've got a $15 trillion debt. We have done very little to stop the massive increases in spending that have occurred over the past few years. Now, we do have this Budget Control Act that a year from now will call for $1.2 trillion in cuts over 10 years. That's a minuscule part of the federal budget. Right? The budget is about $3.7 trillion a year. So in perspective, 10% of that is $370 billion. They're not even cutting about 5%. Anybody can save a dime, cut 10%. Everyone does that on a daily basis. Businesses have to reduce their spending to stay alive and stay competitive. And yet, unless we really face a crisis and are about to go off the cliff, I'm concerned that nobody here in Washington will act soon enough.
Tom Schatz is our guest, Citizens Against Government Waste. And also, we have the live chat going in the studio. You can join the live chat, and we can take your comments and address them live over the air. To get in the chat room, you need to go to www.livestream.com/Armstrong Williams. That's www.livestream.com/Armstrong Williams. Why won't anyone talk about the sacred cow, the entitlement program?
Well, there's actually a consensus on entitlements. Everyone agrees that the retirement age for Social Security should be raised. We're all living longer. We're working longer. The Congressional Budget Office says it would save trillions of dollars over time. It would be a great way to help resolve that issue without talking about whether we should have private accounts or get rid of it or do all these other things that may at some point be necessary. But that's the first and relatively easy step. Medicare should also be subject to that same policy, raise the retirement age and eligibility for Medicare. Medicare is essentially already broke. The law requires that the President of the United States put forward a plan to save Medicare, solve the financial problems, if there is not enough money coming in from the payroll tax to cover expenses. In other words, there's now general revenue, as it's called, paying for Medicare benefits. And we don't want to cut it off, obviously. But the President is essentially violating the law by not coming up with a plan to fix Medicare. His health care plan doesn't do that, by the way. It does nothing for Medicare at all. That's a whole different issue because he's taking money from Medicare and using it for other purposes, making the problem worse.
So let me ask you, in fairness, and I do try to be fair and objective on this broadcast, where, in your estimation, has this president and administration made progress?
They have a plan that would consolidate agencies, some of the trade agencies, Export-Import Bank, make the Small Business Administration a cabinet-level agency, which I'm not sure is a great idea, but that's kind of the extent of it. And they would reduce employment simply through attrition.
No, I'm not talking about what they will do.
Right. Well, that's what they do. They've proposed 16 different ways to reform the government.
We're not talking about the many different ways they propose to reform. We need to know what have they done.
Again, if you take the net effect of what they've done, they have increased spending every year. They have had an $800 billion plus stimulus plan that ended up costing somewhere around $200,000 per new job. So I'm trying to think of something positive because I'd like to be fair as well. I think the president has some good intentions. He's hired some decent people to do the job of trying to fix the way the government works. But there's been nothing. But there's
good intentions don't always.
Well, you're asking me what's out there. I think it's just a lot of intentions because, as I said, the record is very clear. Spending has gone up. It's not just a result of the recession. Revenues, of course, are down because of the recession and the impact on the economy. But spending has gone up far faster than at any other time, again, since World War II. And by the way, in World War II and the Korean War, President Roosevelt and President Truman drastically reduced domestic spending by between 20 and 30% in order to pay for the war. So while people say, well, we had a big increase in defense for Iraq and Afghanistan, well, there wasn't any reduction in any other expenditure to pay for that. And now that we're winding down the wars, they're not reducing spending anywhere.
Let me raise this. You've experienced many presidents over your time. Reagan, Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, and now Obama. Is there a significant, drastic difference between how President Obama sees us as Americans and the role of the haves and the have-nots in society and the role of government versus the others? Are there similarities? Is this president so unique Because, I mean, when you talk about a $15 trillion budget deficit and the fact that he has increased the deficit in spending more than the last 6 or 7 administrations combined, that is a staggering something to wrap yourself around. It's just a staggering number.
The numbers are massive. They're huge. They're, it's just, and of course now we hear all the sirens for the President's State of the Union address here.
That's why we're live.
We're live and we're close to the Capitol, no question about it. So, there is a difference, to be frank. I mean, President Clinton compromised with the Republicans. He sat down with Newt Gingrich. May not help the speaker during the campaign, but they did compromise. They came up with a way to address the budget deficit. There was a balanced budget for some period of time under President Clinton. Bush 1 didn't do such a great job. Bush 2, the same. Again, spending went up, I think, almost doubled under President Bush. The deficit, by the way, almost doubled under Bush 2, but it is more than doubled under President Obama. So if the objective is to have the government become larger and more intrusive, then President Obama is achieving that. Under President George W. Bush, of course the most recent one, Bush 43, there were only about 70 regulations per year that had an impact of $100 million or more on the economy. Those are called major regulations. Now, President Obama is issuing 140 of those massive regulations per year. So he's doubled the number in the largest types of regulations. He's obviously increased spending and massively increased the national debt. And the budget that he produced last year, again, a Democratic-controlled Senate voted 97-0 to reject his budget. So I think that really tells you all you need to know about what President Obama is trying to do. It's so large and so outrageous that even the Democrats in the Senate said no.
This sounds like a hopeless situation.
It's not. No. We've done this for some time here, Armstrong. You have to lay out the problem, and then you have to come up with a solution. And there are plenty of solutions. Citizens Against Government Waste has a publication called Prime Cuts. It would save $1.8 trillion over 5 years. Now, again, that's not enough to eliminate the deficit. It would drastically reduce the deficit. It does make some reforms in the entitlement programs. It addresses a lot of the expenditures that have been considered wasteful by past administrations. I thought of something that the president did. I did. Finally, 10 minutes in.
We're going to come back. Tom Schatz, Citizens Against Government Waste. Armstrong Williams Live. Don't go away.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong-Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Tom Schatz is with us, Citizens Against Government Waste. And boy, I wish we had more citizens, especially elected citizens who are against government waste. But you thought of something good and productive that our president has done.
I did.
I can't wait to hear it.
I did. CAGW, that's our initials, first uncovered a massive earmark in the defense budget in 2004 for something called the alternate engine for the Joint Strike Fighter. President Bush subsequently said that they didn't want it. Secretary Rumsfeld said no. Secretary Gates, President Obama finally said no. Actually, all along he said no. It took almost 2 years of fighting to get rid of this one program, saves $3 billion. And in this case, the Joint Chiefs agreed, everyone at the Pentagon agreed, only the members of Congress in the states and districts where this alternate engine was being built objected. And the real difference, by the way, was the election of those 87 freshmen in the House, because in 2010, the House voted to keep funding this project. In 2011, the House voted to eliminate it. The Senate voted 2 years in a row to get rid of it, and the President, as I said, did go along and really push to eliminate that program. So there's a $3 billion savings in a $3.7 trillion budget. So he did something. The other thing he did is he signed what's called the Improper Payments Improvement Act. Federal agencies make what are called improper payments. That could be an overpayment or an underpayment. It's like you paid one of your vendors $20 extra, right? You want to get that money back. Of course, you're not going to let it sit there for years because you care about that $20. In the federal government, we're talking about, believe it or not, $125 billion a year in these kinds of payments. Many of those payments come through Medicare and Medicaid. So we don't want to waste that money or have it go to ineligible beneficiaries or someone else that might be ripping off the government. We want to get it back. So he did sign that into law. He said he wanted to cut those improper payments down by half in cut them by $50 billion in 2 or 3 years. So there's a few things that he's done, but again, it's not enough to make up for that massive increase of $4.6 trillion in the national debt. The net effect is still large. There's a few things here and there that he has done that have been positive.
You know, we have some people on the live stream, and remember that's www.livestream.com/Armstrong Williams. They want you to help them understand earmarks.
Well, earmarks are essentially what used to be called pork barrel projects. These are projects added by members of Congress to spending bills called appropriations bills that have not been authorized. They were added kind of behind closed doors. They are not necessarily the subject of hearings. Citizens Against Government Waste has been tracking earmarks or pork barrel spending since 1991. We have the longest track record, the biggest database of information about who was spending the money and where. Congress has adopted a moratorium on earmarks for the current fiscal year and the prior fiscal year. Of course, there are some, at least by our definition, that are in these appropriations bills, and this year we will have a congressional pig book. We did not have one last year. They are taking steps. By the way, the president did support the moratorium, said he would reject bills that included earmarks. And again, there's a definitional discussion between the Congress and the rest of the world on how they view them. But they don't have any of the most egregious kinds of earmarks like that bridge to nowhere in Alaska or local museums and opera houses and theaters that have been funded in the past. Some of them are simply just tens of millions of extra dollars for the agencies to spend on what used to be earmarks. So the way it will work this time is they'll get the extra money. Members of Congress will call or email or otherwise subtly tell the program officers and the agency heads, we really intended for that $3 million that we added to the budget to go to us and to my district. So there's less transparency than there was. And I'll give the president credit for one more idea. He and Senator Tom Coburn, they're about as opposite as you can imagine on the political scale, they pushed for the adoption of something called the Federal Accountability and Transparency Act, so that people can now go online and find all of the grants and contracts that have been put out by the various federal agencies.
One of the things that I think some of these questions that are coming over are pretty critical, and I think this one is kind of insightful. When it comes to these issues and the earmarks or the pork barrel spending and the deficit, and they just keep kicking the bucket and no one taking responsibility, are there major or significant differences between Republicans and Democrats?
Looking at what the House did over the last year, there really is. The House adopted a budget that would have cut the deficit by $4 trillion over 10 years. The Republican Study Committee went even further. Their budget would balance in 10 years. And that wasn't even adopted by a majority of Republicans, but nonetheless it was a pretty bold and I think good plan. It was called Cut, Cap, and Balance, cut spending, cap spending at a certain percentage of the gross domestic product, and then get a balanced budget amendment in place. I still think that's the best plan. The Senate rejected that. They didn't even vote on that, excuse me. They rejected the House budget plan called the Ryan Plan by a vote of 40 to 57. And again, as I said, they rejected the president's budget by 97 to nothing. But there were a lot of votes in the House last year that really would have gotten us moving in the right direction. And unlike President Clinton, President Obama did not compromise on virtually any of those ideas. Let's talk about the Keystone Pipeline, another example,
man.
Right? So there are thousands, tens of thousands of jobs that could be created from that. And he's out there appeasing the environmentalists, saying, no, we're not going to do this. I don't know where the jobs come from. The irony, of course, of the pipeline and the moratorium on drilling is that while the president talks about we want to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, there aren't enough other sources to make up for what we're not doing here, and we'll become more dependent on foreign oil. And we're covering a lot of ground, but every time we talk about something that the president might be doing positively, it's pretty easy to find something that isn't being helpful to the economy.
I just got over from CNN, according to the State of the Union excerpts, President Obama will lay out a blueprint for an economy built to last. Sounds like a Ford truck.
Well, it sounds like they are going to once again have the government make decisions about what we should and shouldn't do and what we can buy and not buy.
He said an economy that will last. Yeah. What is his definition of an economy that will last?
Well, it has to be having the government more involved because he doesn't believe the private sector can make those decisions.
But that's part of the problem, government intrusion.
Right. Right. Well, that's the difference in philosophy. You did ask me that question earlier, which I didn't get to, but that really is a difference between this president and prior presidents. President Clinton really didn't have the same rigid idea about how things should work. He made compromises. They reformed welfare. They made other changes to get people back to work. And in fact, as I said, the budget became balanced. And I don't see any way that President Obama will come up with a plan in his budget or anywhere else to balance the budget.
Well, in your final analysis, people are hurting, man. They just want jobs. They want their kids to go to school. They want to put food on their table. They want to put gas in their vehicles. Americans are pretty simple. They're not looking for rocket scientists. They just want the games to stop so Americans can continue a pretty decent lifestyle. It doesn't have to be what it once was, but at least respectful.
Yeah. Well, I just read Senator Jeff Sessions, who's the top Republican on the Senate Budget Committee, put out a statement regarding where we are right now. And as I recall, the median income is back where it was in 1996. Back down under $50,000 a year average or median income in the United States. Clearly not the direction we want to be going in. 13 million plus unemployed. I guess the question for this year is, would you rather have someone as president and whether it's Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich, whoever it might be, who believes that people are better able to make decisions about how to spend their money? Or do you still want someone who will, for 4 more years, continue to expand the size and scope of government and feel that people really aren't able to make those decisions themselves and Washington has to do everything?
Can the president continue on the economic path that he's on and just pray that the economy turns itself around and hope that it will be enough to reelect him? Is his game pretty risky?
There's all those historic, analyses about if it's above 8%, he doesn't get reelected, and all kinds of interesting little superstitious and in some cases factual things. There are a lot of factors this year that will go into whether he gets reelected, and it may or may not be who gets nominated. It may be the state of the economy. There may be what they call the October surprise. Something comes up as a crisis and he looks great and everybody says, oh, he's done a wonderful thing. Because people there's no way, looking at the way even just the Republican process has gone, there's no way that you can tell what's going to happen 8 months from now or 9 months from now.
Tom Schatz, how can our audience learn more about you and your organization, Citizens Against Government Waste?
Go to our website, cagw.org. You can read about our Porker of the Month. As I said, we'll have a Congressional Pig Book out in April, congressional ratings from our lobbying group, Council for Citizens Against Government Waste, and just keep yourselves informed about what's happening with your tax dollars, because you should be demanding better results in Washington.
Tom Schatz, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Armstrong Williams.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit NRA.org.
Hello, my name is Ron Moulton. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council in the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected, as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoulton.com.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Russell.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Hello everyone, this is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Don't curse, speak English. Virtuous society. I dare you to listen. Hey, turn it up. Hey. Get on the right side. Elevate your mind. I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Hey yo man, it's your boy KO. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up.
I wish he did. But obviously, I wish he had the right ideas. But it's just not the right ideas.
Well, we've seen what's happened. We've seen the stimulus plan was one idea. He wanted to do more stimulus. We found out that the cost per job under the stimulus was more than $200,000 per job, which is an outrageous amount of money. Most people don't even make that in the job that they get. And that was the government deciding where and how to spend money. The Solyndra situation, loan guarantees. Now, again, that was a Bush administration initiative. Let's give them the bad credit for that. But the government is very good at giving money to people that can't afford to pay it back, and then they don't do anything about changing the policies. They just keep lending more money. So if something doesn't work, the answer generally is go spend more money until it works.
I think we have our guest now. Russell, you can hear us now, can't you?
Yes, I can.
My bad. I muted. It's my
I had nothing to do with it. I'm over on the side here.
It's my bad. I just messed it all up. It happened. Russell, how's the state of the union in Connecticut?
Well, in Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut, I'd say to a lot of people, this is the golden place to be. This economy's doing well. We got a lot of construction going on. Got companies moving in. NBC Sports Studios, they're bringing in their operation coming into this area. A lot of residential buildings being built. So it's doing very well here. Unlike other places in the country, we weather it pretty good, I guess, because we're close to New York. And as they say, when you enter into this city, they call it the city that works.
How do you rate the president?
Well, I would like to see something go in that would allow business to hire more people and to make people want to take a risk with putting their money out there. I think that that is one of the most important things to try and help stimulate some jobs. And I think until people get comfortable with knowing exactly where they're going, it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to want to put their money out there to take risk with it.
Hey, Russell, this is Tom Schatz with Citizens Against Government Waste. Do you see people in your state commenting that they feel uncertain about the future and that there's too much question about taxes being increased or too many regulations that are interfering with their desire to expand the number of jobs that they're creating?
I don't find a lot of that, but I think the biggest problem with government involvement that people run into here is with the FEMA regulations.
Russell, we just need you to speak up a little louder, brother. We need to hear you.
Because we're on the coast here in Connecticut, so you have people that doing development that run into problems with government regulations by FEMA regulations or some of the brown zones, which might have polluted areas that they also have a problem with. But for the most part, things move pretty strong here compared to some other places. You know, they call it the city that works when you enter into this city. You know, the state of Connecticut, we're doing pretty well under this new governor. But I think it's a lot that's going on that people are just waiting to see exactly what's going to happen before they start wanting to put a lot of money out there to create jobs, because they don't know exactly where they might be with the new healthcare plan. Some of the things about it I don't like. I don't think you should really have to take care of people until they're 25 years old. At that time, you should be getting ready to try to start your own family instead of being on a plan with your parents. That's my opinion. You know.
Tom, he said something. He's saying a lot of things here that I think strikes a chord with the core values of people across the country. And hello, WGNU in St. Louis, Missouri. It's good to be on board. We're live on WGNU. He said Connecticut, particularly Stamford, is a city and a state that works.
Well, it's because a lot of what's being generated there, I think, and Russell can certainly agree or disagree, there's a lot of private money at work there. There is probably not as much government involvement in a city like Stamford. I know it well. I grew up on Long Island. I know the area, the tri-state area, certainly. My aunt lives in Connecticut. So it's pretty much always worked in one way or another, because it is the product of people that work hard to create wealth. And we're going to hear a lot about that for the next 8 or 9 months until the election, or 10 months, I guess, to the election. And that's going to be a big debate. So we need examples of where it works, because private people are taking care of themselves.
Russell, Tom, stay there. We're coming back. This is Armstrong. Williams. Don't go away.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Hello, my name is Ron Moulton. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council in the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected, as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoulton.com.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Lines, unmuting lines, clicking at the same.
Oh no!
You had to click something.
No, I didn't touch anything. Something just happened.
Yeah, the hue stopped. The hue only stops when
So we live?
No, you ain't live now. You messed up the hue.
What's the hue?
It's some long information.
He was just telling me he knows how to do everything.
Yeah, right. I didn't touch anything.
What time is it?
7:15.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back. So, Russell, you with us?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, we need that umph voice. You're about to, you got a text, Tom, about the State of the Union. I can't wait for you to share this with our WGNU audience.
Well, this is really about what the president is going to say in his State of the Union address. Basically, it's a whole different view of what we need to do in this country. He says we can go in two directions. One is toward less opportunity and less fairness, or we can fight for where I think we need to go, building an economy that works for everyone, not just a wealthy few. So apparently the entire history of the United States has been geared toward creating wealth. Wait a minute. We want to create wealth because those people, in turn, create jobs. So I don't know what he means by less opportunity and less fairness. I guess if we have more money concentrated in the hands of people that start businesses and create jobs and give people jobs, that's bad. So the opportunity and fairness to me means that he's going to take from the rich and give to the government.
Well, that has always been his agenda.
Well, everybody has to realize there's levels in life of success. Whether you're a $100 million person, a $100,000 person, or a $20,000 person, you have to want something for yourself, and you have to really ask yourself, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to take certain sacrifices and make your life change? No one's going to do it for you. You have to take yourself and go out there and start doing the things that you need to do to make your life better.
But if President Obama is saying that he can help you and he's going to create jobs and I'm going to redistribute everything, doesn't that reduce people's incentives to go out and do things on their own? I'm agreeing with you. I'm just kind of raising this question about what he's doing.
I don't think it, for me or for people that I know, I'm not going to say that that's going to make them not want to do anything. A person that doesn't want to do anything, no matter what you do for them, they're not going to do it. The people that want something, they're going to go out, they're going to get it. They're going to do what they have to do. You know, there's some things that no one is going to be all perfect for whatever they decide to do. Some of the stuff he does may work, and some of it may work against a lot of the people. But you got to make life available to people. They have to have access to cash. If you're in business, you need to have access to cash so that you can build your business. You have to discipline yourself that when you are in business, that you're not making unwise decisions with the money. When you make money, you have to put money away so during troubled times you can have money and you can grow. These are difficult times, but in these difficult times, there are people that will get wealth that didn't have it before because they'll see opportunities. These depressed markets, there's people that's out there, if they didn't squander away their money before, they will have some money to take advantage of these opportunities. But you have to be willing to take risk. If you don't take risk, you won't grow. Now, whatever the president says that's going to be right in his opinion, that's what he's going to put out there to the people. But America is a great country. We came from the bottom and became a country that is one of the strongest country in the world. And that's because of people being determined. And if you're determined, you will pull yourself together. It's what you need in yourself that's going to make you do more. You have to keep going. When you decide to stop, it's because you decide to stop, not because somebody just giving it to you. It's because you just chose to do nothing. And when people take things from you, then that'll make you go out there and do more. But just because certain things are placed in an environment doesn't mean that everyone that's not very successful is going to stop. There's going to be people that will take advantage of even some of the same programs that he'll put in place that they'll make money on. Maybe it might be something that's going to, say, some housing programs will be put in place that's going to generate development into housing. Maybe that might make some people start, carpenters begin to be entrepreneurs and build houses once again and start renting places. There's things that's going to be done whether he's in office or the next president comes in office. No one's going to have all the answers, but everyone has to have an answer for themselves to try and make their life better. If you don't make your life better for yourself, then you're willing to accept the bottom of wherever you are. You have to want more, and you have to push yourself. You have to sacrifice. Sometimes people want things that they really don't need. They spend money on stuff that they shouldn't. So when these hard times come, they're not prepared to weather the storm, whether you're rich or poor. People sometimes just get beside themselves and don't realize that these are times that people working hard and trying to have, they can do better than they are. but you got to keep going. The Depression, people still was able to survive. There was people that needed handouts, and they had to live through this, and it worked for them, and it worked for the people that wanted. This is America, and it's the greatest country in the world. And if people believe in themselves and realize that that's what they have to do and keep going.
Tom, I agree with everything he said.
Well, there's no doubt about it, but if you get enough people that feel that, or let me say, if they don't understand how all that works, Russell, because you obviously do, then they are going to look not just for a job, or they're not going to necessarily support the idea of creating wealth. They're going to start believing all the rhetoric about class warfare, and it's not, we have to take money and give it back to people, or give it to people whether they're moving forward or not. And I'm concerned that that type of approach will prevail when we have this election in the fall, because that's really what I think this is all about, is a vision of how things are going to work. There are enough people, yes, that will make those decisions on their own, that will do it regardless of the economic circumstances. But if you start taking away kind of marginal decisions, well, I could create 3 more jobs, but since I've got extra expenses for this new health care plan, or I've got EPA regulations, or I've got uncertain tax rates, maybe they're going to start extra taxes on people making over $100,000. I don't know if I can hire this person for $40,000 or $50,000, because I may have to give that back to the government. That's where we're going to run into some problems.
I think what we all have to do is you have to know what you're up against, and once you realize what you have to deal with, whether it's taxes, healthcare benefits, whatever it is. If these are policies that's put in place, we all want to make money. If you're an entrepreneur, you want to make money. If you're a working guy that just want to go to work and then go home, or go to the basketball court or the baseball court in the summertime, and you just want to do an 8-hour day, that's up to you. But you won't have the same success that the person that's willing to do 14, 15, and 16 hours a day to make their lives better and to build their business. Those are the winners. Those are the ones that really go that extra length, is the one that separate themselves from the ones that don't reach those heights. They sit back and then they look at that person and says, wow, we started at the same time, but look at him.
Well, then how do you explain all these comments by Speaker Newt Gingrich about how, Mitt Romney didn't make his money fairly, or he destroyed jobs, or whatever it is? I mean, he's giving the line and really playing into the hands of the White House and their strategy to go out and attack wealth. And what I mentioned earlier about this less opportunity and less fairness, I don't even know what the president means by that, but I guess we'll hear more in his State of the Union address about his plan for how we can move forward. Hopefully, as I said, we all want him to succeed. We want the country to be in good shape. I just am not sure how that's going to happen based on what we've seen for the past 3 years.
Well, Mitt Romney, he's a businessman, and if you're in business, you have the right. This is America. You're supposed to make money. We have the right to make money. There are things that's put in place laws that we have to abide by, things that's gonna constrain us a little bit. But it's America, and if you want money, you have to work for it. And if you work for it and you don't rob people and don't mistreat people, then I would say you're pretty much getting it fair. Because if you're not doing it fairly, things will come back that's going to cause problems for yourself. So I think that Newt Gingrich, you can't make it seem like Romney's the worst thing because he's become successful. We all want the same. We all want a better life. Some people are willing to work harder for it than others. Some people are not willing to do anything for it.
But isn't it encouraging, Tom, when we hear real everyday Americans speak and the fairness and objectivity and how they respect the entrepreneurship and hard work?
Well, it's supposed to be that way. I mean, that is how this country was created, by people who took risks. They took risks by getting here. They took amazing risks to create this nation. The Constitution, everything else is unique in the entire world. More countries are moving in the direction of our type of republic and democracy, and they are being successful by doing that. That's why the Soviet Union broke up, essentially, was a failure of its business model. And now you have all these former Soviet satellite countries really making it on their own, producing some of the best work and kind of most enthusiastic workers in the world, because it's the first chance they've had to make it with their own money and create their own wealth.
You know, Russell, I want to thank you so much for joining us. You really added an interesting perspective. And I know, Tom, you got to run off and play some tennis soon. yes, don't worry. So we're going to say goodbye to you also. In fact, we're going to keep talking during the break because, you know, this is a new system for us. And I was hitting some buttons in the studio. And as a result of hitting those buttons, I sort of messed up my commercial break. So the people in St. Louis are going to hear me talk during the break. And during the commercial break, we're going to be chatting away, but we'll get this corrected. But we're going to continue with the broadcast. I mean,
I can stay for a little longer.
As we cover the State of the Union. Russell, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So, Tom, this is just the part of being a broadcast. You know, you just got to keep going and making it work.
Well,
Hans Edwards, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing today, Armstrong?
Were you worried that we were not going to get to you?
Oh, no. I knew you would get to me eventually. I'm patient.
We're patient, too. What were you about to say, Tom? So we just have to keep talking until... I know we're in a break now. I do know that much. So we're just talking. Anthony is telling me we just got to keep talking. You know what? I can do that.
Okay.
We're live, of course.
Okay.
So,
Armstrong, I know you can just keep talking.
No.
I've seen you over many years.
Tom, you may be surprised. For me to just keep talking, but listen.
But we have a new guest, so let him talk.
So, Hans, how is your economy? What part of the world are you in?
Okay, I own a company in Columbia, Maryland, so it's pretty much the D.C. metro area. We do a lot of government contracts with the healthcare industry. We actually are seeing an uptick in our industry. I own an office furniture supply and installation company. Been in business 13 years, and business was a little slow back in 2009, 2010. As it was for a lot of businesses, and we were able to survive and regroup and come up with new business models, and we made it through the worst part of the recession. Now we're seeing an uptick. We're getting new customers every week. We're hiring a new person February 1st, so that's a positive. Our revenue is up 1.5 million over 2011 was. So it looks really good right now. I know not every company can say that, but for us, things are picking up. And
wait a minute, Tom. Are we missing something here? Let me just tell you. Obviously, we invite our guests on the broadcast, and many of my guests don't share my ideology or my conservative leanings at all. Now, we're not talking about die-in-the-wool conservatives, whether it's talking about Hans and talking about Russell Davis. In my opinion, both of these supported President Obama as president, and I think that support continues now. But what I'm hearing, and many of these business owners would be considered minority business owners in Connecticut and here in local Maryland. But what is amazing to me is that maybe it's the media and the economic indicators missing out on something. Maybe it is true that this region, Washington, D.C., is unaffected by the economic downturn, and maybe places like Connecticut. But is what we hear from Hans an indication that the economy is turning around, and maybe Americans, especially small business owners, are not in as much strife as people talk about? It's easier to tell a bad story than tell the good stories we're hearing tonight?
Well, I think, again, it's a little bit of a margin question. In other words, businesses will succeed because we've got amazing people in this country that forge ahead, don't think so much about the impact or of what Washington is or isn't doing to them, but at some point it does have an effect. And as I've said, if you are a small business owner, you're in that $250,000 plus range, you think you're going to be taxed by another 10%, essentially say $25,000 or even $15,000, that's money that you're not putting back in your business. So right now, President Bush's quote-unquote tax cuts are still in effect. during the course of this year, they have to be extended again. So this is an uncertain situation for a lot of these business owners who pay the individual income tax rate. Healthcare, whether that kicks in fully or not, again, more expense for the employer. So every dollar that an employer has to pay, either in taxes or for regulations or to fulfill some mandate from the federal, state, or local governments, it's a dollar they can't invest in their business. So there may be great intentions out there, but eventually these policies catch up with the economy.
Hans, and you say?
I'm sorry?
And how do you respond to that?
They're good policies, they're bad policies. For example, that 3% tax on government contractors that was just repealed by both houses, that was a bad tax because that was going to hurt small businesses, especially small businesses that do business with the federal, state, and local government. So if I see there's something that's going to be passed that will truly hurt my business, I will mobilize with the organizations I belong to with, and get my voice heard. And I haven't seen anything out there right now that would hurt my business. Yeah, I know everybody says the health care could be a major factor, but I've got to wait and see how that will truly pan out. We're looking to see how that's going to affect us when it does roll out, and that's where we're growing slowly and cautiously. We are growing. We can take the punches. I mean, I know that not every company can say that, and not every company can do that. And being in the Washington area again, I think we are a little insulated from what's happening in other parts of the country. Where Florida, Nevada, having that federal government base does give a little bit of a cushion, but you can't survive on that forever. You got to go and grow your business. Commercial, healthcare, whatever it is. You can't rely on the federal government only, and I understand that.
Well, that has been one of the great parts of being in the Washington, D.C. area. I've been here since 1974, and there has been certainly a great diversification, not just dependent on the federal government. Now, a lot of contractors do work for the government or with the government, but speaking of contractors, I was just reading a piece of the President's State of the Union address. He says, we will not go back to an economy weakened by outsourcing, bad debt, and phony financial profits. So apparently those are the three sources of all of our problems. Right? We've exported jobs overseas. Bad debt, I guess, relates to maybe Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which they haven't done anything about. Phony financial profits, I'm not sure what he's talking about, other than perhaps carried interest, which if you, by the way, increase the 15% tax, the capital gains tax that these investors make, the hedge funds investors and others, maybe you raise $4 billion a year. You're not going to balance the budget that way. I mean, what is the real plan that he's talking about? No bailouts, no handouts, no cop-outs. That sounds like a campaign speech, not a solution.
It's worse than that. Hans, it's worse than that, actually. So Hans, what do you see as any of the pitfalls moving forward? What would you like to see the president say tonight or do differently going forward in his towards this election year?
Well, first of all, I'd like to see real change happen up on Capitol Hill. I'd like to see somehow he get the Democrats and the Republicans to work together and pass some laws, some things to really help the American people that are struggling and hurting out there. Because not everybody's living in the metro area, and have the the federal government cushion, if you want to call it that. When are they going to realize that people are hurting, and we need to come together, Democrat, Republican, with the president, and make some real choices? I don't think that's going to happen during an election year because everybody's so polarized. I'm a little skeptical that anything's going to happen this year until after November. I think everybody has a wait-and-see attitude right now, which is really discouraging for the average American person looking for a job or trying to save their house. So I don't know. somehow some miracle could happen during his speech, and the Republicans and Democrats say, hey, we're going to put politics aside, and we're going to try to work to help the American people. Wouldn't that be a miracle? I'm not too optimistic about that happening, but I know he's going to try, and I would encourage everybody on each side of the aisle to try to find some common ground and put the politics aside a little bit to help the American people, because they're hurting out there. Because I talk to a lot of different people, and I see what's going on for the average Joe out there.
Well, Hans, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your perspective insights. I also want to thank Tom Chatz, who has a tennis game that he has to get to. LaToya Foster and Bob Brown is joining us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Hans.
Thank you, Armstrong. I appreciate it.
Your final comment, Tom?
Well, first of all, Armstrong, thank you very much. It's always enjoyable to be speaking with you this time on the air, and it's always an adventure. You never know what's going to happen on live radio, but we're always prepared.
But we are prepared. We have been at this. We don't get rattled.
That's right. That's right.
Mr. Brown, how are you?
Armstrong, I'm doing fantastic.
Well, we're so glad to have you join us. Tom, thank you. LaToya Foster's coming up next. Tom, enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Armstrong. You too.
Mr. Bob Brown worked in the Nixon administration. They say that he is the godfather of minority business. And we're just so glad that he's joining us. And LaToya Foster, as we wait for her to come into the studio, the good news is that this is not TV, so she doesn't have to go through that thing that women have to do before they come on the airways. Mr. Brown, what is the state of the economy in High Point, North Carolina?
Well, it's coming back. It's been very poor. It's been very difficult, Armstrong. People out of jobs. But in the last few months, in the last year or so, we've seen an increase of businesses coming in and new businesses creating new jobs and that sort of thing. So it's been good.
LaToya, how's the state of the economy in your business?
Well, the media industry, as you know, Armstrong, got hit very badly starting in around 2008. Advertisers started dropping off. Everyone was kind of holding on to their money. But right now, because of the campaign season, the media is picking back up because our politicos are buying that ad time. So it's a good time for us in the media.
Mr. Brown, what would you like to hear the president say tonight in the State of the Union?
Well, I'd like to hear him say that there's going to be a more determined effort to decrease our debt. I'd like to hear him say that we're going to be reaching out more, that he's going to offer American business an opportunity to bring their money, much of the money that's offshore. I think it's about $2 trillion. Bring that back to help us in this country and our economy and build a business. I'd like to hear him say that they're going to have a lot of things going on that is going to help middle-class people. I'd like to hear him say that that he's going to do something major in terms of all of the foreclosures that have taken place, all the people that are out of their homes, that have lost their homes. I'd like to hear him say a number of things like that, along with about 15, 20 others.
LaToya, and you, what would make you re-energize about the president? And I know it's got to be more than rhetoric, but is there something that he could say?
What I'm looking at from the president tonight, and I do support the president, and going forward, I do foresee him getting 4 more years. However, I know tonight the people are waiting to hear from him. What does he plan to do to turn this economy around? And that's what it's really going to be all about. People want to know, which way is this economy headed? As I watch the Republican debates as of late, I hear all of the candidates talking about taking our country back, taking America back. The conversation shouldn't be about taking our country back. It should be about moving our country forward, moving our country to unimaginable heights. And tonight, the president has an opportunity because right now, everything is on the line. This is the kickoff of his re-election campaign. So he has to set the record straight on what he has accomplished in his 3 years in office and what he will do if he is re-elected as President of the United States.
Mr. Brown, what are the challenges the president faced in being re-elected?
Well, just like every president, he faces a challenge that many of the things that we can't foresee, but people are looking at him for jobs. They're looking at him to restructure the economy. They're looking for him to lower the debt, and a lot of things like that. And they want that, and they want it now. These people who have lost their homes and out on the street, they're looking to recoup. Many of the home values in the country, in many states, are less than half of what they were 2 or 3 years ago. So he has a mega job ahead of him. I think he has the ability to do it. I think he can master it, but I think he's going to have to run in order to do it, and he's going to have to regroup with all of his people and all of the people on every side. I'm talking about the Republicans, the Democrats, the Independents, and everybody else that he can find.
So, LaToya, it is a given that no matter what the president does going forward, he has your vote.
Well, the thing is, I look at the president. I can't say that he absolutely has my vote, but I can tell you more so than not, absolutely. I like President Obama. I've always liked President Obama. When he was Senator Obama, when he was the presidential candidate, I think that his heart is in the right place. I think he can relate to the middle class because it wasn't that long ago that he was living just the way average Americans were living, paycheck to paycheck. He knows what it's like to have to pay for child care, to have to pay for health care. He knows the struggle that most people are living through right now, which is why I believe that he's working hard and diligently for the people, not for the interests of the party and not for the interests of PACs and so forth. I think he's really working in the interests of people the best way that he can against a Republican-led Congress that combats him on everything that he tries to do.
Mr. Brown, so your vote is also in the bag for the president. He doesn't have to earn it. No matter what happens going forward, you would never consider voting against him?
Yeah, I have it. Okay. I think I never consider my vote in the bag for anybody, no matter whether they be Democrat, Republican, or whoever. I think the judgment has to be made on President Obama, and just like it has been made on every other president. What did you do? How much good work did you do? What did you do for the people? How did you lift the people up? How did you handle the problems and all that? And I think the judgment, I think the jury is still out with many people in the country. I think he's done a reasonably good job under very difficult circumstances. But I think, and I think he knows it. I think his people know it. If you've been in the political arena at any point, you know that no matter which side you're on, Democrats, whether you're working with Democrats or Republicans, and I've worked with both Democrats and Republicans, and I know that they and everybody else knows that people are going to make a judgment on what did you do, how much did you help me, and that sort of thing. How sensitive you are to the problems that we're going through in the country. I think. And if he can portray that in a very effective manner, I think he'll be reelected. But if he allows himself to get caught up in a lot of stuff, and if he doesn't come through on a number of things that he has on the agenda, then he's going to be in trouble.
You know, we've seen this movie before. An eloquent speaker, a charismatic speaker, says all the right things, and yet the promises never live up to the rhetoric.
Sound like some of the dates I've been on, Armstrong.
Yeah, and you know, some people may not want to go on a date with the president anymore. They may want to try a new date. I think your point is well taken. But in this State of the Union, Obama is going to make the case for fiscal fairness. I must tell you, I am a journalist, neutral. I respect the president. I voted for the president. Mm-hmm. Yes,
I remember that.
Yes,
we talked about that.
But but I will tell you this: there is no question President Obama's got to earn my vote again.
Okay.
Oh, let me be clear, and let me tell you, right now, I am very open. I'm very open to the Republicans, whether it's Gingrich or Mitt Romney. I'm even open to Ron Paul. I'm open to President Obama. I'm open to the possibility that a Michael Bloomberg, Donald Trump may run.
Mhm.
I'm open to the possibility that a Jeb Bush and a Condoleezza Rice may run together. I'm open that there may be a brokered convention with the Republicans, and none of the people that are running will get the nomination. It will be a brokered convention. I am very open. President Barack Obama is pledging an economic revival that will work for everyone and not just the rich. I don't like the class warfare. I don't like it. Declaring that the defining issue of our time is the endangered promise of the American dream. He's using his State of the Union address tonight to draw a battle line with Republicans over how to avoid a nation of haves and have-nots. How you avoid it is everybody doesn't work the same. Everyone doesn't make the same choices. There are some people who are in their plight through no fault of their own, but most able-bodied should work. I should not be looked upon, you, Mr. Brown and others, because we work hard, we save, we respect what we earn, we invest it wisely. We shouldn't be punished. I don't know why people are so upset with the fact that Mitt Romney made $42 million over the last couple of years, and he hasn't worked in 5 years, and people are complaining that he's taxed at 15%. But guess what? 85% of Americans in this country pay a tax rate of 15 to 14%. So why are we going to single out Mitt Romney? I don't have a problem with Mitt Romney and what he was able to accomplish in America. In fact, I see Mitt Romney as a role model, as a goal model, something that you should want to aspire to, not to condemn. Mr. Brown, that is the American way. Mitt Romney deserves our respect, not our maligning him.
I agree, Armstrong. I agree he deserves our respect. I think he's a decent human being. He reminds me very much of his father. His father was a good friend of mine. We worked together during the Nixon years. His father was Secretary of HUD, Housing and Urban Development, and was a very good man. Very conscientious, very sensitive to the poor. I think Mitt Romney comes out of that background. At the same time, I think all too many times we have seen it over the last few months in particular that many of the Republicans have shot themselves in the foot, by engaging in a lot of different kind of things that don't concern the masses of the people. I'm talking about white people, black people, all the people in the country. And I think that the Republican Party has to make sure that the people understand that they are working in the best interest, or they're trying to work in the best interest of the masses of the people in the country. I think to be effective, they're going to have to do that.
Listen, the president is going to speak to a Congress tonight that is underwhelmed by his handling of the economy, targeting anxiety about a slumping middle class. Obama was underlining every proposal with the idea that hard work and responsibility still count. I just wish he meant that. Listen, I believe in helping the haves. I believe the haves helping the have-nots. But look, you cannot create this class warfare because people work. The American way is you eat what you kill, and then you share it with others. I don't need the government to tell me how to be charitable.
Yeah, but Armstrong, it sends something through me when I'm watching these Republican debates. I'm listening to the former speaker.
Hallelujah feeling? You get a shout feeling?
No, I get
excited.
You don't even want to know what came out of my mouth a few times. You don't want to hear it. It's not really Christian-like.
That's the beauty of this country. Because you know what? I like the fact that somebody's finally taking on this biased media.
When I sat there and I listened to the former Speaker of the House, and I've interviewed him numerous times, and I'll be honest with you.
And you praised him.
Yes, I did.
Praised him.
Yes, I did. Yes,
you liked him.
I still like him.
Yes.
I still like him. What he does behind closed doors, I could care less. To be quite frank with you, it means nothing to me what any of them do behind closed doors, as long as children and old people are not being hurt. I'm gonna be quite frank with you. I don't care what he's doing as far as an open marriage. That's between him and his God. I have nothing to do with it. However, I don't like the personal attacks that he's made on the president, calling him the food stamp president.
Well, he is the food stamp president.
Also, at a time where there's a recession where people do need those food stamps.
But he is a food stamp president.
Regardless, look at the recession. But look at the recession and look at people who need those food stamps. See, that's what I mean about not being connected,
not being more dependent on the government.
People are trying to do for themselves, Armstrong. People are trying to do the best that they can. The opportunities sometimes, Armstrong, some are. But there's a lot of people who are really trying hard. I'll give you some examples. I had a girlfriend. This is real talk. She came off of the hill. She just got a job after 2 years. 2 years of being unemployed, okay? And we hear that story over and over again. She had her sick grandmother she's been trying to take care of, and she's been doing the best that she can do. There are families right now that are struggling that need those food stamps from the food stamp president that Newt Gingrich keeps talking about. I like to encourage these candidates, or all of our leaders, to go and put their tennis shoes on and walk through the neighborhoods of this country. Go through the hood, the real hood. They're on Capitol Hill. Go make a turn down on 8th Street somewhere, and go really into the Trinidad area and the impoverished areas of this country and see how people are living and trying to make it work. Those old people who are slicing their pills in half so they can hang on until the check comes in. There's a lot of suffering going on out here, and some of these candidates, some of these leaders really do not understand because they've never walked in the shoes of the people who are hurting right now.
I go back to the Bible. And the Bible tells us that a man must work by the sweat of their brow.
No problems there.
Okay, and not all men work by the sweat of their brow.
Not all don't, but what about the people who are, Armstrong? You know what? The people who are trying.
You know what? Listen, Mr. Brown, go ahead. We want to get you in on this.
Well, Armstrong, there are black people, there are Hispanic people, there are white people, there are many people that I have seen, some few that I know, who do not have a job, who are on food stamps and who are on public assistance, who have never been on public assistance before, who don't want this to be a part of their life. We have to reach out to these people. And for anybody like some that I've heard say that we need to cut this out and cut back and cut this.
But we have to. We're in a deficit. We cannot take care of everybody.
Well, okay, you take the money from somewhere else?
There's got to be shared sacrifices.
Okay, but not there. Not there.
Everyone must share in the sacrifices.
Okay, what about those wars that we created, Armstrong? Take the money from there.
I'm with Ron Paul. We need to let these countries take care of
let them take care of themselves.
Become the policeman of the world. We agree on that, but still, look, it is my responsibility to take care of my mother and my parents in their old age, not the government. Okay, that is my responsibility. Okay, we rely too much on the government.
What do you do when you don't have another option, Armstrong? What do you do when you don't have another option?
If you say you're a man of faith, stretch out on your faith and let the Lord give you the answer.
That sounds good. The Lord will give you an answer, but
you may not hear the answer.
Faith without work is dead, Armstrong.
That's right. But
that's what the Bible says.
You cannot work unless you have faith. You got to have the faith to believe that your circumstances are going to change. Listen,
I agree with that.
Been in the valley. Mr. Brown has been in the valley. You've been in the valley, but guess what? I came out of that valley.
That's true.
Okay? And that valley experience has made me a better human being.
And there are a lot of people trying to get out of the valley right now. People don't want to be in that valley. Who wants to be in the valley?
I think some people have.
People want to be on the mountaintop.
They're bathing in their valley.
That valley ain't a good place to be. The valley ain't nice, y'all.
They need to.
The valley ain't nice.
I have talked to people. We've talked to people who continue to have these babies out of wedlock, and you ask them why, and they say because the government pays them. That's how they make an income. That needs to be discouraged. That's a problem.
That does need to be discouraged. But what about the people out there who honestly need the help? I can't penalize the people who really need the help because we have some people out there who have made babies as a way of making a living. That's not cool.
Mr. Brown, everyone has to share in these sacrifices.
I agree that everybody has to share. But there's an overwhelming number of people who didn't make this bed, and there are more now than there's been in the last 60 or 75 years. And so you just can't since the Great Depression, and so you just can't leave these people out there and act like it doesn't exist, or act like they just tell them to go on and fend for themselves and that sort of thing, when there is nothing there for them. We've had these jobs going offshore by the tens of thousands over the last 30, 40 years. Many of the companies who had major factories in this country do not have factories here anymore. You take down here in North Carolina, where you had to. I remember when I was growing up, when I was in high school, and even in later years, that we had the furniture industry here in North Carolina big time. I mean, they were all over the place. There were factories everywhere. Now most of the factories have moved over to China and Vietnam and a few other places in the Far East. And they've taken all those thousands and thousands of jobs with them. I mean, what are we supposed to do about that? You know, I mean, so if there's one of those kind of stories, there's hundreds of them. And so the people don't have to work. There are people with great skills of making furniture, using different kind of machines, but that's what they did. Their families worked in these mills for decades and decades. The son, the daughters, everybody worked in these mills. So what do you do with these people? You just throw them out and say, "Oh, y'all got to go get something for yourself, and we ain't got nothing to do with this no more." And all the companies have moved overseas, and they've taken the money and everything else with them. You can't. Somebody's got to do that. This is America's a nation with compassion. We are shown that we are a nation with compassion.
You know,
continue that.
You know, the president warned Republicans in Congress today that he will fight them if they try to obstruct him or restore an economy gutted by outsourcing, bad debt, and phony financial profits. This phony financial profits. Let me just say this. I'm not impressed. Let me tell you why. It's hard not to feel, LaToya and Mr. Brown, a sense of disappointment even before tonight's speech is delivered. The goal isn't to conquer the nation's problems. This is not what the president's trying to do. He's not trying to conquer the nation's problems. He's trying to conquer Republicans. He's trying to belittle them, malign them, so he can win again at all costs. And finally, the goal isn't to prevent gridlock, but to guarantee that there's gridlock.
You know what, Armstrong, but isn't that what the Republicans have been doing since they took control of the House? Haven't they been trying to belittle the president? Haven't they been trying to make it difficult for the president? Didn't the House Speaker, Jim Boehner, himself say his ultimate goal is to defeat the president, not work for the people?
That was Mitch McConnell. It was not John Boehner.
Okay, Mitch McConnell. His goal is to defeat the president by hook or crook.
But the Republicans have put together budgets that have significantly reduced the deficit. That's the bottom line. This freshman Congress, if we did not have this freshman Congress that grew out of the Tea Party, the deficit would be astronomical. They're willing to take Boehner to task and the president to task. Listen, Boehner has had problems keeping his troops in line because they don't support what they do. Because in the end, Boehner and Obama and those have far more in common than most of us. They have got to get this deficit under control.
They do have to, and that's a responsibility of each one of them. So I think what each one of them should do is sacrifice their salaries and put that back in the pot. Since you said that,
you know what? I believe when people work, they should get paid. I'm sorry. I don't
okay, but you know, are they working for the people? See, that's my problem with the leaders that we have. Are they really working in the interest of the people, not the party?
As long as their constituents send them back to Congress, they should be paid. When they decide that they're no longer working for them, then they should defeat them.
Right now, the people are showing you that they are angry with all of the leaders. Take their checks. So they can sacrifice that $150,000 that they make per year. They can set plus whatever they get in speaking engagements and books and X, Y, and Z.
Mr. Brown, Tom Schatz, Russell Davis, Han Edwards, LaToya Foster. I gotta tell you, this has been wonderful. Thank you all. I'm on my way to the State of the Union. I'm headed there now. I've got my credentials and everything waiting for me. I gotta go over there and cover it. Thank you all so much for joining us and being a part of this edition of the Armstrong Williams Show. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lord have mercy. You're a firebrand.
They make me sick. Go in their wallets. I bet you see an entirely different Congress when they start digging in their wallets, getting their pockets.